Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex. And about 4 months ago, we got this updated Marvel Future Fight that introduced World Boss presets. And I really like this system, and I made a whole video talking about all of my presets for teams and strikers for all 9 of the World Boss Ultimates, RIP for the time being to Supergiant. So what I wanted to do today is basically just give you guys a rundown again of my 5 teams that I use now for World Bosses. However, I want to go into a little bit more detail on the teams, not focus so much on the strikers, and I just want to focus therefore on the left side, because the last video I tried to do all 9, I had to talk really fast, and it was a 20-minute video, so I don't want that. So we're just going to be doing Proxima, Cull Obsidian, Corvus, Ebony, and Thanos. The other reason why I'm only doing these 5 bosses is because they are much more valuable long-term for you to play against, so building teams for them is much more important. The reason for that is that these bosses do not drop tier 2 materials. They drop tier 2 mutant materials. And these materials have a hard cap of 6,000. So you will eventually, cap, and then you're only getting tier 3 materials and possibly booty boxes or Titan records and Odin's blessings. Whereas with these bosses here on this side, you will always be collecting your tier 3 materials, possibly booty boxes, possibly Titan records and Odin blessing, and you'll be collecting black antimatter and chaos Nordstones, which are unlimited value, unlimited capacity. You can hold as much of it as you can get, and we need more of it than ever. So many native tier 2s have been reworked this year. There are still more coming down the pipeline. A lot of them have gotten uniforms. I mean, we're assuming Adam Warlock and stuff like that. So because of that, the left side is more important than ever. Now, I want to address something at the beginning of the video as well, because one-shotting has become very popular, which is basically building up a lot of all defense down and using a very high damage skill, especially an awakening skill like Moon Knights or Dr. Octopuses or Mystiques, and just doing enough damage to deplete the boss's HP to 0 in the first 10 seconds of the fight. And this is a very appealing way to play because it's fun, it's awesome to see that much damage go by that quickly, and it's fast, right? You can get to do other things in the game. You don't have to struggle, running around against the boss. You don't have to go through the different phases and watch the animations. You don't have to risk dying, and so on and so forth. So I do some one-shotting. Sometimes I don't do one-shotting. It's weird. I like one-shotting. I just don't like doing it all the time. So I only like doing it with specific characters. That's not necessarily the way that you have to do it. You don't have to do it at all. But I just want to address that because some people will ask, and because it might not make sense. There are suboptimal teams that I use at this point, and there are some teams that I'm not using that I could be using for one-shots, but I'm just not that interested in doing one-shotting that often. I feel like everything is good in moderation, so I want to sort of moderate and control the amount of one-shotting that I do, just for my own sake as a player, so I remember how to use the joystick, so I remember how to kite and dodge the boss's attacks, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are not necessarily the best teams, but these are just my teams. Also keep in mind that I don't always do the exact same stage. So for example, we'll start with Proxima here. It's almost exactly the same team as it used to be. It's Holiday Lady Deadpool with the Enchantress lead and now Dazzler support. For this team, I can go up to 99. I usually do around 80 or 85 or 90, but I could really go as high as I want. Holiday Lady Deadpool completely shreds Proxima, and actually I did switch Holiday Lady Deadpool over to a CTP of energy, so she does even more damage even faster. Keep in mind, because of Holiday Lady Deadpool having all defense down, you don't want to bring any all defense down strikers, but bringing along a striker that has mind control is good. So I have one preset with a bunch of damage leads. Hulk is actually not bad because it's 10% increase all attack, which is good. It's not bad, especially for low stat characters like speed types. And then Rachel is the single mind control, crowd control striker. And then I'll have another preset that has just an all defense down striker if you're missing that, but not mind control or crowd control. And then I have another preset with both in case you need both. And then I have an empty preset in case I want to practice without any strikers. And then I have the standard one-shot preset. This is the standard one-shot preset if you're trying to one-shot any boss in the game. It's pretty much identical for all bosses for all YouTube channels. You have 3 buff characters like Cosmic Ghost Rider, Thanos, Silver Surfer. It could be other characters. It could be Ancient One, War Machine, and Sharon Rogers. Okay, it doesn't have to be those 3. I know they're very expensive. And then you have Doctor Strange and Weapon Hex. Those 2 characters at the top are non-negotiable. Sometimes you can swap Doctor Strange, but you can't always swap Doctor Strange. and you cannot swap weapon hex. So those are basically non-negotiable. However, Doctor Strange does not need to be tier 3. He doesn't even need to have a uniform. He can just be tier 2, no uniform. Weapon hex just needs to be tier 1, level 60. She doesn't even need to be tier 2 because her 4th skill is what's giving her the all defense down, not her tier 2 passive. So yeah, that's basically the striker list that I use for almost every single boss. It doesn't really change. The only boss that I change it slightly on, the 2 bosses that I change it slightly on, Corvus. I have slightly different strikers for Corvus, of course, because he has very, very high dodge. So you need to bring ignore dodge. So I basically swap all the damage strikers for ignore dodge strikers, and then I do the same thing. I have one list with 1 mind control. I have one list with mind control and all defense down. I have another list with just all defense down, and then this actually should be blank because it's the same as 1. And then I have the standard one shot, except I sub out the damage for ignore dodge. Very, very straightforward. And then last but not least, against Thanos, sometimes I use a striker list that includes, there's the one shot striker list. Sometimes I use a striker list that includes a heal from Anti-Venom, because Thanos is very annoying to fight, and Thanos does a ton of damage. And yeah, you sometimes need healing against Thanos. So those are the strikers. Those are the sort of the explanations on how I build my teams here. So this is the first team. You use the debuff lead for Deadpool to scale up the all defense down to like -100, and you just shred Proxima. This team here, beautiful team, very fun to play. Again, you use White Fox's lead, and actually the support passive works on Moon Knight because he's got the leadership ability. So tons of buffs for Mr. Knight there, and then you get -98 all defense down. So with his awakening skill, he just slaps Proxima and does insane amounts of damage. Here, this is my one-shot team. So those 2 actually don't do one-shots because I usually play them around stage 80, so they're not quite one-shots. They're like, that's like a 4-shot, and that's like a 2-shot, 3-shot. But this is definitely guaranteed a one-shot. I can one-shot stage 80 sometimes. I can one-shot stage 70 very reliably. So when you ask about the characters, yes, Storm needs her newest uniform. No, she does not need to be tier 3, but she does need her newest uniform. But she can be tier 1, level 60 with the newest uniform. But you use that combo with Valkyrie because not only do you get the passive Battle of the Goddesses, but you will have Storm using her 4th skill when you use the co-op, and that will apply all defense down. So you use this with this team here, and then Weapon Hex comes in, Storm comes in, you get 100% all defense down. You use Dr. Octopus's awakening skill, and then you just murk Proxima, and she dies. This team right here is another one-shot combo. Phyla-Vel's got a CTP of Insight. Of course, Medusa's got her leadership and her awakening skill, and then Iron Man is dropping the all defense down. So again, same striker list with Weapon Hex. So these are my 2 one-shot teams using awakening skills and also not using a debuff lead. That's really important because there's only 3 debuff leads in the game. There's Dr. Voodoo, White Fox, and Enchantress. So I use all 3 of them. There's Dr. Voodoo. I just got rid of him. Well, there was Dr. Voodoo. And then you've got Enchantress and White Fox. So because of that, the other 2 clears can't use debuff leads, right? So you sort of have to make do with that. And so that's why I really like Dr. Octopus and Mystique, because they can use their own leaderships. In his case, he uses no leadership because it's HP. So yeah, this last one here after Medusa. Medusa's a 1-shot or a 2-shot. This is just all defense down -100 with Mystique. And then Shuri's just there for extra support and extra defense. There's nothing too special about this. You could, I guess, swap Taskmaster. You could swap Shuri for Taskmaster because of the Weapon Master passive, but it's not gonna make too much of a difference. Moving on to Cull Obsidian, huge. So Proxima was low physical defense, high energy defense. This is low energy defense, high physical defense. So we bring along for the first team actually. Basically a carbon copy of the other one, except we swapped Dazzler over because other characters need Dazzler more than Deadpool at this point. And I don't use any mutants besides, yeah, I just realized that there's only 1 mutant team against Proxima now, which is, oh, there's 2. There's Mystique and Deadpool, but the other 3 teams are not mutant. I mean, Storm is a mutant, but she's just used for the all defense down, right? So that's kind of interesting. Anywho, so yeah, we swapped that over, but it's basically the same idea as the Proxima one. This is just Professor X, Nick Fury, and Dazzler support. This is just a ton of damage. You just need to bring all defense down striker. Here we have basically the same one-shot as before, except instead of Phyla-Vel, we're using Phil Coulson. The reason why Phyla-Vell is gone from this team is because Phyla-Vell is now on the Beta Ray Bill one-shot team, and this team is beautiful. Love this team. In this case, you're using White Fox for the support buffs, not for the leadership. So you're actually kind of wasting a debuff leadership, but it's okay because Beta Ray Bill is a god and he one-shot stage 90 of so many world bosses, so it's okay. Beta Ray Bill, I wish I could use him against Proxima. He's so much fun to one-shot. By far one of the most fun characters to one-shot with. It just looks beautiful animation-wise, sound effects-wise. It's just great. And then, yeah, that's the same one as before. And then this one is just Doctor Strange with a debuff lead and a support passive. This one can take a little bit of time depending on what stage you go to, like how high you go. It's not a one-shot. But yeah. Also, you can use Weapon Hex as a striker for Doctor Strange. It's hit and miss, so keep that in mind. But you do get minus 84 all defense down with Dr. Voodoo regardless, so I tend to not use Weapon Hex as a striker for Doctor Strange. Moving on to Corvus Glaive here. Our first team, basically the same again. Deadpool strikes again. Carbon copy team. We're just using Dazzler somewhere else. Here we're using Mr. Knight with Taskmaster to give him the double support, the uniform support, and the Weapons Master support passive. And then we are using Abomination's lead so that I don't feel bad for spending 4,500 crystals on Abominations. 60% all attack is nice, don't get me wrong, but this could really be substituted. You're not going to lose much, but you could have an identical lead in Crescent, because 60%. Oh, you know what? Crescent also has the Moon Blessing. So yeah, you know what? Crescent is like straight up a better leadership. Dang it. Sorry, Abomination. So yeah, Crescent's just better. Crescent's worse in the sense that if Moon Knight dies, Abomination is better than Crescent most of the time. But anyways, you could use Gladiator. You could use a ton of characters. It's really not. It's just all about Moon Knight just doing insane amounts of damage. You could use debuff lead here for Moon Knight, but I'm using my debuff leads elsewhere. So that's what makes Moon Knight so good, is that you can take away the debuff lead and he's still very, very, very strong. So here, actually, you know what? Oh yeah, I am using all 3 debuff leads. Okay, I was gonna say I wasn't. This team here is honestly not the best team. It's just very easy. Quicksilver very rarely dies against Corvus, and he just does solid, consistent damage, so you can just roll up a stage 80 and finish it in 2 minutes. I just do this honestly to again, make myself feel less guilty for giving him a CTP of Rage. I don't use Quicksilver for anything, so I'm just slotting him here. He's not the best option. You could probably split up my next team into 2 teams, but yeah, that's just why I use him. And then you don't have to worry too much about strikers because he has 50% ignore dodge naturally. Here we're using double awakening characters with a debuff lead. So the debuff lead does not apply to Dr. Octopus. I mean, it applies to his all defense down, but his all defense down is 30%. But it applies to Mystique, which is really good. So you just switch to Mystique, you do her awakening skill, you kill Corvus or whatever. Next phase, you switch to Dr. Octopus, use his awakening skill, or, you know, so on and so forth. It's just a fun little team. You're just switching back and forth and using awakening skills and 30-second timers. It's kind of like the ABX team, so I kind of enjoy it for that reason. And again, it's just a fun team for me to use. And then we have the Beta Ray Bill one-shot. Yep, this works on Corvus. That's how good Beta Ray Bill is. He's insane. Do I still have an obelisk on Beta Ray Bill? You bet. Absolute god. 100%. Possibly, man, he's so good. He's not the best character in the game, but he's so good. Anywho, moving on to Ebony Maw. We've got our 5 teams here. Beta Ray Bill returns. The only character we don't see here again from the last 3 clears is Deadpool, but you see Beta Ray Bill. Beautiful. We get we get Professor X. This is the Professor X one-shot variant. So it's not Dazzler and Nick Fury or Ancient One or whatever. This is just using his corny 20% lead and then Negasonic and Emma. So then you press the co-op skill, you use Weapon Hex as a striker, and then you get 100% all defense down. So he can one-shot. He can like basically almost one-shot stage 70. It's weird. It's kind of wonky. You get him down to like 1 bar. So it's just like a very, very fast clear, but obviously he can go way higher as a standalone character. I just like doing the one-shot because I don't do a lot of other one-shots against Ebony besides Beta Ray Bill. And then we've got Doctor Strange with double lead and support. This is a bit egregious. This is a bit excessive, but I like it. It's fun. And then we've got here Dormammu. So I was using Dormammu because of his potential and stuff like that, but he's actually really good against Ebony Maw. Like you guys saw, I was doing stage 70 without strikers. So he's actually really good. And I'll eventually tier 3 him. I might swap him out in the meantime for Ghost Rider because the rest of this team is basically prototype for Ghost Rider. If I was using Ghost Rider, I probably wouldn't use Dr. Voodoo lead because he only has fire resistance. He doesn't have all defense down. So I would swap this for someone else, or maybe I would use him here and then drop another support, because this is still 30% fire damage, which is not bad at all. And the crit rate's not bad at all because Ghost Rider doesn't have any crit rate buffs. So yeah, but yeah, this team works really well. At tier 3, this team would definitely be top 5. And then we've got this team. This team I actually just constructed for this video. I had a different team here, but it was kind of wonky. But this team is really nice. So you have the debuff lead, which gives Storm 85% all defense down on her skills, right? And resistance 85% or 84% resistance down. You've got Valkyrie giving you support buffs, and when you do the co-op skill, Storm does her 4th skill for even more all defense down. On top of that, if Storm dies, Enchantress with this new uniform, Summer Days, can totally take over. So this is actually a really, really fun team and kind of flexible, and you can kind of switch back and forth between characters to do like basically whatever stage you want. You could go up to 99 with this team, especially with my Storm being tier 3. Last but not least, we have Thanos. Thanos is annoying, so I will just explain it the way that I do it. I dial it up to the very highest stage that I can do, and I do my 2 one-shots. This one-shot takes forever, and it's annoying, but it works, and I've covered it in a separate video. And then I do the Beta Ray Bill one-shot, which is so much easier, and I usually get that within 5 tries. So those are my 2 one-shots. After I do my 2 one-shots on Thanos, I dial it way down to like stage 40, maybe 45 or 50 if I have a lot of time on my hands. But if I don't, if I'm rushed for time, I just go down to a lower stage, and then I do my 3 clears. It's just a ton of damage and survivability. So you've got Silver Surfer with double lead and support. You've got Professor X, not Dr. X. Professor X with Gladiator lead and Dazzler. You don't really need to use Gladiator here. You can use anyone. Probably Ancient One is actually better than Gladiator, so I should probably swap that, but yeah. And then we've got Magneto, Namor, Ghost Panther. This is a weird team, as you can see. I'm not using Mystique. I'm not using a lot of the other very strong characters. But yeah, you know, Magneto does good damage, and then I can just swap to Namor. He does good damage. And then Ghost Panther is giving them both a buff. It's giving Namor a bit more of a buff. But yeah, this is just kind of like a whatever team. I don't like, you know, I don't play Thanos that often, so these are not the most optimal teams. But I'm also trying to use different characters. I don't necessarily like using the same characters for all 5 clears for all 5 bosses, because as you can see, I already have a lot of repeats. So I have kind of wonky teams here sometimes, but it works. And thank you, but no thank you. And yeah, so those are my teams for the left side. If you guys want to see my teams for the right side, apologies if this video is like 17 minutes long, but let me know in the comments down below if you want to see the right side. And let me know if you have any questions in the meantime about these 25 teams. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.